There comes a moment in life when everything changes without your permission. A moment when the plans you carefully designed, the dreams you lovingly protected, and the future you imagined suddenly look unfamiliar. In that moment, the easiest question to ask is, why me? We search for reasons, for fairness, for someone to blame. But I learned that this question keeps us trapped inside our pain. The day your life begins to change is the day you stop asking why and start asking what now. Because acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is courage. It is the quiet strength of looking at your reality exactly as it is and saying, this may not be the life I planned, but this is the life I will rise from. Refusing to stay defeated does not mean you never feel broken. It does not mean you never cry in silence or struggle in the dark where no one can see you. Strength is not loud. Strength is the decision you make again and again, even on the days when getting out of bed feels like a victory. People often think winning is about standing on a stage, holding a trophy, or proving something to the world. But the real victory begins much earlier. It begins the first time you choose hope over despair, faith over fear, and movement over stillness. It begins the moment you realize that what happened to you is not stronger than who you are. Your reality may be painful, unfair, or completely different from what you dreamed. But staying defeated is always a choice. And the most powerful truth I discovered is that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always control who we become because of it. You can let hardship make you bitter, or you can let it make you brave. You can let loss close your heart, or you can let it deepen your compassion. You can sit inside the ruins of yesterday, or you can begin building something new with the same broken pieces. The power has always been yours, even when you felt powerless. Do not wait for perfect healing to begin living again. Do not wait for the world to understand your struggle before you decide to move forward. You are allowed to rise while you are still hurting. You are allowed to grow while you are still scared. And you are allowed to create meaning from moments that once felt meaningless. Every step you take in acceptance becomes a step away from defeat. Every breath you take with courage becomes proof that your story is not over. So stand inside your truth without shame. Face your reality without fear. And promise yourself that no matter how difficult the beginning was, the ending will be written by your strength, because this time you will not stay defeated. There is a silent question that pain leaves inside all of us. It asks whether the suffering we endured had any meaning at all, or whether it was simply an unfair chapter written into our lives without reason. For a long time, wounds feel like endings. They feel like something that has taken more from us than we can ever recover. But with time, reflection, and courage, something extraordinary begins to happen. The very place where you felt the most broken slowly becomes the place where a new strength is born. And that is the moment you begin to understand that wounds are not only injuries, they are also invitations. An invitation to see life differently. An invitation to grow beyond the version of yourself that existed before the pain. An invitation to discover a purpose you may never have found if everything had gone perfectly. Because comfort rarely creates courage, and ease rarely reveals the depth of our spirit. It is often the hardest moments that introduce us to our true power. When you survive something that once felt impossible to survive, you begin to carry a quiet wisdom within you. You start to understand the struggles of others without judgment. You learn compassion, patience, and resilience in ways no ordinary success could ever teach. Turning a wound into purpose does not mean pretending the pain never happened. It does not mean forcing yourself to be positive when your heart is still healing. True purpose is born from honesty. It is born when you allow yourself to feel, to grieve, and to slowly gather the broken pieces of your story with tenderness instead of shame. And then, one day, you realize that your story can become a light for someone else walking through darkness. The tears you once cried in silence begin to give strength to another soul who thought they were alone. Your survival becomes someone else's hope. Purpose is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is simply choosing kindness because you know what cruelty feels like. Sometimes it is listening deeply because you know what it means to be unheard. Sometimes it is standing tall, not because life was easy, but because you refuse to let hardship erase your worth. Every scar carries a message, and every healed wound carries direction. The question is not whether pain will visit your life. The question is whether you will allow that pain to shape you into someone smaller or someone stronger. When you decide to transform yourself, because before anyone else believes in your dream, you must believe in it first. Before anyone sees your strength, you must learn to see it within your own reflection. And this is not easy. Doubt can be loud. Past failures can feel heavy. The opinions of others can quietly shape the way you measure your worth. But the truth is simple and powerful at the same time. The direction of your life will always follow the depth of your self-belief. When you stop believing in yourself, even small obstacles begin to look impossible. Opportunities feel intimidating instead of exciting. You begin to wait for permission from society, from circumstances, from people who may not even understand your vision. But when belief awakens inside you, something shifts. The same obstacles become challenges you are willing to face. The same uncertainty becomes a path you are brave enough to walk. Self-belief does not guarantee an easy journey, but it makes the journey meaningful. It gives you the strength to continue when results are slow and recognition is absent. Believing in yourself is not arrogance. It is not pretending to be perfect or ignoring your weaknesses. True belief is honest. It says, I may not know everything yet, but I am willing to learn. I may not be strong every day, but I refuse to give up. I may fall, but I will rise again. This kind of belief is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. It does not depend on praise, and it does not collapse under criticism. It grows through effort, patience, and the courage to keep showing up for your own life. There will be people who misunderstand your journey. Some will doubt you. Some will question your timing. Some will only believe in you after you succeed. But you cannot build your future on borrowed faith. If your confidence depends on approval, it will disappear the moment approval is taken away. That is why your belief must come from a deeper place, a place untouched by noise, comparison, or fear, a place where you remember who you are beyond your struggles, beyond your past, beyond every label the world tried to give you. And when you truly begin to believe, the world slowly responds. Not always immediately, not always loudly, but inevitably. Because belief changes the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you decide, and the way you persist. It turns hesitation into action and dreams into direction. It transforms waiting into creating. The world does not first give you confidence and then reward you. It watches to see whether you will trust yourself enough to begin. So stand by your own side when no one else does. Speak kindly to your own heart when doubt tries to take control. Trust the strength that is still growing inside you, even if it feels invisible today, because the moment you choose to believe in yourself is the moment the world quietly begins to believe in you too. There comes a point in every difficult journey where exhaustion begins to whisper louder than hope. You have tried, you have struggled, you have waited, and still the result you doctor, aimed of, feels distant. In those moments, quitting starts to look peaceful. It promises relief from effort, relief from disappointment, relief from the uncertainty of not knowing when things will finally change. And many people stop right there. Not because they are weak, but because they are tired. But there is a truth I want you to hold close to your heart. The distance between failure and victory is often just one more step taken when you feel you have nothing left. Winning is rarely sudden. It is not always a bright moment filled with applause and celebration. Most victories are quiet. They are built slowly through unseen persistence, through days when progress feels invisible, through nights when doubt tries to rewrite your story. What looks like strength from the outside is usually endurance on the inside. The people who reach the place you dream about are not always the most talented or the most fortunate. Very often, they are simply the ones who refuse to stop. Refusing to quit does not mean you never rest. It does not mean you ignore your pain or push yourself without care. True persistence is gentle but unbreakable. It allows you to pause, to breathe, to heal, but never to surrender your purpose. You may change your path, adjust your pace, or begin again in a new way, but the decision to continue remains firm. That quiet decision, repeated again and again, becomes stronger than any obstacle standing in front of you. There will be days when nothing makes sense, days when effort feels unanswered and hope feels fragile. You may question your direction, your timing, even your worth. In those moments, remember that doubt often appears just before transformation. Yes, Eid spends a long time buried in darkness before it ever sees the light. What feels like delay may actually be preparation. What feels like silence may be the world gathering strength for your breakthrough. Not every chapter of growth is visible while it is happening. Victory also changes meaning as you grow. At first, you may think winning is reaching a destination, achieving a title, or proving something to others. But along the journey, you begin to understand that the greatest victory is becoming someone who did not give up, someone who kept faith when fear was easier, someone who kept walking when the road was empty. That kind of victory cannot be taken away because it lives inside your character, not outside in circumstances. So when the road feels long and the night feels heavy, do not measure your story by this single moment. Measure it by your courage to continue. Measure it by the strength that is still breathing inside you. Take one more step and then another, even if they are small, even if they are slow, because the moment you refuse to quit is the moment victory quietly begins to move toward you.